Welcome to Journey with Lay podcast. We discuss leadership, culture, and how to take your business to new heights. Your host, Lay Wang, is an adventurer, motivational speaker, and executive coach. Join us each week to learn how you and your team can reach your highest aspirations. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to Journey with Lay Leadership podcast. This is a place where purpose-driven leaders come to learn how to step into that authentic leadership role that resonates with their hearts and souls. I'm your host, Lay Wang, and an adventurer, motivational speaker, and executive coach. I believe if you dare to dream it, you can achieve it. Join me every week to learn how you can reach your highest aspirations while living an exciting and balanced life, so you can take your teams and business to new heights with ease and grace. Now, let's go. So I'm so excited about today's interview. Today's guest, Tracy Oswald. Tracy is also the VP of Sales Learning and Development for LOCALiQ, part of USA Today Network. In other roles there, she designed and taught client-facing marketing labs across the country, as well as hosted the Growth Lab podcast for USA Today. Welcome, Tracy. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, this is so much fun. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to get to see. I know you did so many serious work, but I want to know, what do you do for fun? What are some of your favorite hobby or pastime?
Okay. So I know how much you love adventure and excitement with everything that you do and all that you've spoken about. And I do too, but I just don't climb mountains to do it. I do it in a different way. What I do for adventure is I go to Immersive Theater. Have you ever heard of Immersive Theater?
I've been to one when I was in Manhattan, but I bet the one you've been to is totally different.
Yes. So I've been to a bunch over the last few years, but the one that I've gone back to 49 times is called Sleep No More.
49 times.
49 times. 49 times. Yes. And for everyone listening, immersive theater is, think of it like a play that you play. So instead of sitting down watching actors, right, and maybe music, you are walking around, you are in the experience, you can touch things, you can interact with the actors. And it has shown me, first of all, it's a lot of fun. It's heartwarming. You feel so many feelings that you wouldn't if you were just sitting down watching a show, because you're in it and it's so exciting. But it's taught me over the last almost 10 years that I've been going how to connect better with humans. And Lee, that's a big part of why I kept going back, is because I used it as sort of my playground and my laboratory to get better at vulnerability, which has served me so much, both in my coaching career as well as my corporate role. So it's tremendous fun, and I highly recommend it to everyone.
Wow, thank you. So
yeah.
49 times. I wonder, is the show every time different?
Nope.
Every time the same, but the experience different.
It's the same, yeah. And it's so big. It's 5 floors. It's got over 100 different rooms. It's about 100,000 square feet. So you can't be in all of the places at the same time. So yes, I've seen the same thing a lot of times, but every time I go, I experience new things.
So what are some different learnings or insights you gained, like from the first time, second time until like 40, 49?
Yeah. So interesting. The first time I went, I wasn't quite sure, like at the end of it, I wasn't quite sure what happened, but I knew I wanted to go back. I just had this feeling inside me. Something was drawing me there. And in the early stages, I was at a point in my life, in my career, where I was not nearly as open as I am today with people. And, I had fine relationships, but they were not as deep as I really wanted them to be, because, and as a coach, I'm sure you come across this, there's fear when you get vulnerable with people and when you show them who you really are, right? And there's a lot of fear about What if they judge me? What if they don't like me, right? There's also the opposite fear of, if I get to know too much about this person, will I still like them? Will that be weird? And so over time, you're in the show, you're very close to the actors. Like you're right up in their face, and you might have, like, they might whisk you away on a little adventure, going through different rooms, through different passageways. They might tell you stories. They might dance with you. And I had to get very comfortable having complete strangers look me in the eye, and they're acting. So they're going through their own emotional stuff in the show, and be comfortable with whatever was coming up for them. Was it joy? Was it pain? Was it fear? Was it ecstasy? Right? Being present to other people's emotions really taught me, as a human, as a woman, as a coach, as a leader, how to get very clear about my own, which in turn helped me become very, very valuable to my company, to my family, to my clients. It's just helped me grow in so many ways.
Wow, I love that story, because when I went into climbing, I had a similar revelation at the beginning. I was, I'm challenging myself physically. Then later on, the deeper challenge is to the mental, to the emotion. And people always ask me, what did you learn in climbing? What's the hardest time in climbing? Actually, the hardest time is outside climbing. It's when you carry those realization into your life, into your career, that you realize, that's what it means and how this can impact my life. So I wonder how those lessons affect your leadership style, or how you manage your team over the years.
That's such a great question, because it has dramatically affected me. And I've grown more in these last 10 years than I think at any other point in my grown up life. Here's what I learned, Lee. I learned, and this was true in my personal life, but very, very true in business as I was leading teams, that the more I let them see who I was as a human, not only as the leader, right, of the team and the representative of leadership in the company, the more I got comfortable showing them, talking about my family and talking about my fears and talking about my dreams as a person, not just in the context of the company, right, and the plans and the, projects, the more I was getting back from my team, from the people on my team, both personally, right? We were creating better relationships, which in turn led to better working relationships, which in turn led to the projects we were working on together becoming so much more successful, happening faster. Other teams wanted to work with us because we were working so well together and having so much fun, that other teams were like, hey, what's going on over there? Right? Like, what's happening? We want in on that. And it was a very powerful lesson early on that reinforced for me how critical human connection is and vulnerability can be.
Yeah, I love that. So I know for the past 2 years, everyone has been experiencing a lot of challenges. And as a leader, I bet I see some leader like trying to still hold a space, or trying to present the powerful leadership like role in front of their team. But at the same time, I wonder how you can also combine that with the vulnerability, with the connectedness. So how did you adapt it in the past 2 years?
I think what was true for me, and I think what's true for most leaders who've really navigated this well, is more communication, not less communication. And I don't mean sending emails. I don't mean checking up on people. I mean truly talking to people about what's important to them, even when it has nothing to do with work. So finding ways to make it really safe for people to come to you if they're struggling, right? How can you create that space where your team member, if they're really struggling with something at home and they can't seem to manage, the workload and the family load, and I think this was especially prevalent with parents who have children when schools were closed, right, all of a sudden they had to become the teacher on top of becoming the worker, right? And having real conversations about what that was like, allowing them to talk about, hey, this is really frustrating. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm unsure of this. It's taking time away from my work. And I feel bad about that, right? But this is reality. And I think being able to hold space for someone, very much like we do in coaching, right? You know, when you have a client, you have to hold space without judgment and simply meet them where they are and let them have the feelings they're having and be totally okay with that and witness that without any kind of repercussions on them. That was the most powerful thing for me, for my team. And I did the same for them when I was struggling. There was a point where I was really struggling. I started seeing a therapist because of, the social distancing, and I didn't see my, adult daughters for a long time, like so many families. And it was really weighing on me, and being able to let my team know that I was going through this and having the humility and vulnerability and trust in them that they could also hold space for me is important. And I think leaders who, I think a lot of leaders aren't able to do that because of all of the judgments they have about themselves and about having to keep, a very authoritarian, feeling to their leadership, especially when things seem out of control. There are a lot of leaders who want to feel in control, and that extends to controlling their team more. So it's like they get, you're nodding your head, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So to give us a sense of like how big that challenge, that task is, like in how big is your team, and like how often do you have meeting, a one-on-one meeting or team meeting? How do you just balance? Sometimes some person may need more engagement.
Yes. Yeah. So I do have weekly one-on-ones with my team. I have 7 direct reports, and those weekly one-on-ones, I learned a long time ago, and I've adopted this for myself. This is how we run our one-on-ones. Is they get to talk for the first part of the one-on-one. They get to talk about whatever they want to bring to the table. If they want to talk about their family, their kids, specific projects, if they're excited about something, if they saw a movie, whatever it is, they get to talk about anything they want. And there's a lot of resistance when I talk to this about other leaders about this, because we always have our list, right? Our checklist of all the things I have to talk to this person about. And when we show up on someone else's one-on-one, that they get special time with us and we run the agenda, that's not creating trust, and that's not creating a relationship.
Right.
That's not holding space for someone. Now, that doesn't mean at some point in the meeting, I don't talk about the things that I want to talk about, but 9 times out of 10, everything that I had on my list, they eventually get to, because they were able to get everything else out. And I was able to hear them and connect with them and laugh at their stories and be with them, right? As humans, as a team member, as an employee, so that they could get to, okay, here's the projects we're working on. Like, here's what I did. Here's where I need help. Here are the questions. Here are the thoughts. And there's great, it sounds great in theory, but so many leaders, and this was hard for me to do when I first started doing it years and years ago, because we're so used to, right? We have our meeting and we want to just check off the boxes and make sure we get to things quickly so we can move on to the next thing. But that's another thing that immersive theater has taught me, Lee, is that the magic is in those small moments that you get one-on-one with people, where you are totally quiet and you're simply witnessing what they're going through or what they're excited about.
Yeah, that's very powerful, because I know, like, when I was coaching some of the clients who are in a powerful leadership role, and I found one of the hardest challenges during the coaching session is they shut up and just listen.
Mm-hmm.
We're allowed silence between us. So that I found that's a very important training. Listening skill is super important, but easy said than do it. It's just hard to see them struggling, trying to keep their mouths shut.
Yeah. And it's also hard too, even when you get them to keep their mouths shut, right? Their brain is still coming up with answers to what the person's saying. So they're formulating what they're going to say instead of receiving it.
Right.
And that's the next step. And that takes even more discipline. It's hard to sit and let someone talk. It's even harder to not formulate a response to what they're saying and simply receive it. Very, very hard. But it's so worth it, because when you have that kind of trust with people, there's nothing you can't create together. When they know that you're going to be on the call with them, absolutely show up for their best interest and their growth, and as a human and as a team member, that builds incredible trust, and you're able to create amazing projects and things with that.
Yes, thank you. That's very powerful. And also I wonder, like during the pandemic, so other than just this, I think you probably have been practicing this one-on-one and a team meeting in this style for many years. But during pandemic, people experiencing even more increased remote disconnect, loneliness. So what other things your team did to just enhance the connectedness during this?
Yeah. So, we have, like a lot of teams, we have, our own Teams channel where we can chat and send each other like funny things, right? Like funny pictures and funny memes. But what I would do is in their one-on-ones, when they told me, hey, I have this conversation that for example, I have this conversation that I have to have, and I'm nervous about it. And so we talk through it and I coach them, and they get in the mindset where, okay, I'm going to go have this conversation with this person. I always make a note of when that conversation is, that they're nervous about. And I'll check in with them before, like, do you need a pep talk? Do you need to, and then after, like, how'd it go? So they know that I'm there for them on both ends of that, no matter how it goes, whether they had a great call, whether it was horrible, whether they messed up. I, as the leader, have to be super sensitive and follow up in moments of unsureness and of their growth. And so that's on me. And so I have to make notes in my calendar and my little notepad to just simply follow up. Hey, how'd that meeting go? You were excited to have this one. How'd it go? How'd it come out? And just keeping that conversation going throughout the week about the things that are important to them keeps that connection going. One of the other things we do, our team is very, we're at a place where they help each other so much. It's very much like this interconnected family who, if someone's struggling with something, all they have to say is, I need help. And the entire team will be okay, what do you need? I got this, I got that, you do this, I'll take this part. And fostering that trust one-on-one, and then setting the stage for them to be able to learn to, over time, trust each other that much, has created, especially over COVID, another way for them to feel safe is that they also have each other. So not only do they help each other with challenges, work-wise, but they also are a resource for each other. If someone's having a really hard day, they can call their colleague and, I'm really having a hard day and I need a pep talk, or I just need you to listen. That's critical. And that also comes from a sense of trust for each other.
That's great. And also you mentioned during pandemic, you are not immune to those mental health challenges.
No.
So during that time, when yourself need to, need more space for your own personal care, how do you still make yourself available for your team? How do you balance?
Yeah, totally. And I told them I was very upfront. In our team meeting, I told them something like, I can't remember the exact words I used, but here's what I'm struggling with. I'm talking to a therapist. I feel very sad right now. So I'm still here for you. But if I don't react in the same way that you're used to me reacting, it's not you. I don't want you to think this is you and I'm mad at you or you did anything wrong. I'm going through a really tough time. So if my communication is different and it feels different, that's why. And I think leaders miss this a lot because we think that we have to shoulder all of our own stuff. And if we share it with our teams, it will somehow make us seem unable to lead them when the exact opposite is true. And when leaders don't share that they're going through a hard time and they're a little shorter with their team or they're, like when you're going through a tough time, you don't communicate the same way. People notice. And if you don't give them context for why your communication is different, and you seem different, they could start to internalize that very much. Like, oh, I wonder if I did something and she's really mad at me and like, what's going on? I'm not sure. They make it about them, understandably, because you're their leader, right? And you're acting different toward them. So it's a twofold scenario. It's being vulnerable enough to tell them what's going on, because that creates the safe space for them to do it as well. You have to do it first. You can't expect them to show up and share from their heart if you're not willing to do it. That's number one. You have to model that behavior and be truthful about it. And then give them context for, if my communication seems off, it's not you. Like I'm going through a really hard time and I need a little support here as a human. And asking your team for help could be the most powerful thing that you do.
Yeah, that's a powerful lesson. I think that's what we call authentic leadership. It's not that you are always perfect. You are always like a great handling everything. We are all humans. So leader being true of as a human and open in the communication, I think that is super important. So I wonder if have there ever been any cases like some employees are disengaged, unmotivated, and how do you help them get over that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. Yeah. I mean, I've had a long career. So yes, absolutely. This has happened. Here's what I want to say. My philosophy is that we cannot motivate another human being to do anything. I think the only people we can motivate is ourselves. But what we can do as leaders is create the environment where people can tap into their own motivation, and using all of the skills I have from coaching, right? I'm able to, because they trust me already, right? And so I can sit with them and ask them really powerful questions to help them understand where they are, what their brain is thinking, what their thoughts are, what they're feeling, right? What's current state? What's happening right now for you? Why are you feeling this way? Get underneath it. And then do you just want to feel this way for a little while? Because I think so often leaders want to rush people out of their feelings because leaders are uncomfortable with talking to someone who might be sad or depressed or unmotivated. And look, I've been unmotivated many times, right? We're not constantly motivated. Sometimes we're just having an off time and work's not clicking and you don't feel like doing things. When that happens to us, but we judge our people for it happening to them, that's a recipe for disaster. That's not authentic leadership, right? So being truthful and asking them, hey, what's going on? Like, do you want to talk about it? And honoring that, and then helping them see where they are. See, do you feel like you're ready to move out of this space, or do you need a little bit of time, a couple of days to be here? Because sometimes we have to be with our sadness and upset and frustration. That's just the way things work. And when they're ready, okay, how do you want to come out of it? Do you know what you want? Let's talk through that. What do you want this to look like? And then just, coaching questions are really simply a mirror for people to self-actualize.
Yeah, I love how you're using coaching skills in the leadership, because I think a lot of leaders, it's very important for them to have a coach or learn how to apply the coaching skill to their leadership. So I wonder, other than applying coaching skill to your own leadership, do you try to promote the coaching skills to the whole organization or other teams? How do you influence the organization culture with coaching?
So I think, here's the thing. I think people have to be ready to learn coaching skills, and it's not for everyone. And, everyone does not want to learn this. A lot of people just want to keep doing their leadership the way they're doing their leadership. So that has to be willingness. But absolutely, I talk to a lot of leaders in our organization. And, I might have one-off conversations where they call me or we jump on a video call and talk through some of the things that they're going through and talk about ways that they can coach their team and what kind of questions to ask. But I think people have to be ready and have to want it. Just teaching people coaching skills without their permission and desire, I think is a waste of their time and my time.
Right. But if we want to improve the organizational culture, we somehow feel there's a need to promote coaching into the leadership structures. So what can we do?
Yeah, I think I'll talk broadly. I'll talk about just companies in general. I think that has to come from top-down leadership. The leadership team at the very top has to be self-aware and consistently growing their own emotional intelligence, has to believe in the value of coaching, real coaching, because there's surface level coaching, right, that we think is coaching, but then there's the real deep coaching, which makes people uncomfortable, especially people who have been doing it a certain way for a long time. So the leadership team has to believe and has to live coaching skills. They have to, because that's the only way they're going to make it a priority in their organization. They're not going to find the time or the budget for coaching programs inside leadership, second level leadership in their company if they don't believe in it and live it themselves. So I think, this is an appeal to leaders at the very highest level. And I think it's our job as coaches to keep having these conversations. So hopefully a leader in a big organization might hear this conversation and say, oh, this is the missing link. I want to learn how to be a coach for myself and for my people, grow my emotional intelligence. And then potentially, if that really works, expand it in my company.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because for me, like when I got into coaching at the beginning, my passion is I want to help people live a more exciting life, a great life, great career. I want people to go after their dreams. But I realize a lot of time people are not happy. It's because the environment they're in. And I realized only way to change that, I have to go from the top down. So now my passion is more helping leaders, how they can build the environment that foster growth, that employees can be excited, can have their dream, their passion fulfilled by working here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why we need executive coaches like you to keep doing what you're doing.
Well, so are you. Yeah, and then that also leads to a question I often get from my audience. So a lot of mid-level leaders, they are growth-minded. They want to take care of their people, want to like the communication engagement. However, they feel frustrated, because my upper executive team not supporting this initiative, the organization is not buying. So what can the mid-level managers do in this situation?
Here's the advice that I have is that when you put your people's growth before the projects, like when you prioritize helping your people grow as humans and as company employees, and when that's your priority number one, even over the work that has to get done by the team, that's when you win. Because when you do that, even if your manager, first of all, I don't know how your manager would not support, or even if they would know what you're doing, because all you're doing is this is your work with your team. right? This is your conversations with your team. Every time I see a leader do that, every time I see a leader prioritize the human's growth over the projects at hand, number one, the projects at hand always get done because the human is growing, and they create even like 3 times better the work than if the conversations were only about the work. Does that make sense?
Right.
So you have to decide as a mid-level manager, what kind of experience do you want to have as a leader? Because just because someone tells you, no, you can't do that, or no, we can't afford this program, and that happens all the time, you can still show up where you are, who you are, with what you have, and make a huge impact on the people on your team simply by changing you.
That's very powerful. But I still get this kind of question is a lot of people, they feel so much energy wasted trying to fight this organizational structure because they cannot push through. Even they want to take care of their people, they are starting from themselves. But there's a lot of roadblocks presented by the organization. They feel the only way to move ahead is to leave this organization.
Yeah. So I think that's a lot about mindset. And here's what I'll say about that. You can focus on the roadblocks or you can focus on the possibilities. And this is true in life. And you know this from climbing all of the mountains that you climbed, right? It's a mental game. Well, you probably encountered a lot of very physical roadblocks on these mountains, and you had to use your mind to overcome them. And it's the same thing in management and leadership. Yes, you're going to get roadblocks by your company. There's going to be budget cuts. You're going to have to maybe, institute a program that you don't believe in. You're going to have to do lots of things that you perceive as roadblocks. My question is if you put your focus on the roadblocks, you know what you're going to keep seeing? More roadblocks. And so you have to decide, and this is your own emotional intelligence as that mid-level manager, you have to make a decision. Do I want to keep looking for the roadblocks? Or do I want to start looking for the possibilities and opportunities that I have that don't cost anything, that I can affect change with my people today, right now, in this moment? And it's easy to say, hard to do, right? Easy to say, hard to do. I understand that. However, as a leader, as a human, I know that every time I've focused on what's possible as opposed to what's really hard and what I can't do, when I focus on the possibility and opportunity, like I win every time. So you have to decide, how do you want to experience your day? Do you want to feel crappy because you just keep, no, nothing's going right and upper management doesn't believe in this and there's all these roadblocks? You can choose to keep thinking those thoughts and nothing has gone wrong. You're not a bad person. You're not a bad leader. But you have the ability, if you want, to choose other thoughts and then make them become true, not only for you, but for your people. And that's what leadership is.
That's really well said, because from coaching and from my own climbing experience, we know that you can't change other people. Only one you can change is yourself. And there's always challenges, there's always roadblocks in your job environment, in your life, in wherever you go. And if we take each roadblock, each challenge as an opportunity for personal growth, to see how I can gain by growing stronger, gain more experience, learning something from this, instead of saying, oh, the only way to get around is to bypass, to run away, to go to another place, then truth is you're going to find that again in another place.
Yes. And I want to add too that just because I said what I just said doesn't make me immune to sometimes seeing the roadblocks. Like just because I understand the choice that I have, and a lot of times and over time I've practiced making that better choice for me to have a better experience in life. Sometimes we get focused, even though we're coaches. It doesn't mean our brain's perfect, right? Like we get focused on, oh, this is nothing's going right and everything I'm trying is no good. And it's just noticing instead of letting that be the thought in your brain, it's catching it. Oh, I keep saying nothing's working. And I keep saying, this is not, this is really bad. And I keep saying, all of these things. Is that what I want to focus on? Do I want to make a better choice right now with how I want to use my brain and how I want to focus my thoughts? So that still happens to me. So I don't want everyone to think, oh, she thinks perfectly and she doesn't see roadblocks. Oh, trust me. I still see them. And sometimes I go down that rabbit hole. I'm right there with you. And I know how frustrating that can feel. However, like we talked about, it's the emotional intelligence, is the decision and the awareness that there's always a different way to think about things, always, that's available to you in every single moment.
Yeah, and I think that where the coaching skill actually helped me as a person, just myself, because we all experience negative stuff. We all experience some frustrating, disappointing, defeating feelings. But because of the coaching skills we have, I can pull myself out much faster. I can
yes.
I was thinking in the negative way. Oh, I'm thinking in the now the growth-minded way. I can catch myself and pull myself out.
Yeah. And yes, a lot of times I can. I still work with, I have my own coach because sometimes I can't see it, right? I can't see what I'm so close to and I believe that is true. And when I work with her, right, she's all of a sudden she asked me a question. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I didn't see that. And yes, I'm deciding to think those thoughts that really aren't true and are clouding my whole experience. And I have options. Right. So I think it's important to know that we all need help seeing what we can't see because we're so close to the reality and we think everything is true. Like when we're in the river of misery, we can't see our way out sometimes. But you're right. A lot of times as a coach, we can pull ourselves out. And I still have a coach that I work with because there are things that I can't see that I need help with too.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned your coach because that's actually one of the questions I want to ask actually in the end, but now since you mentioned. So yeah, I think every leader should have a coach. So I want to share like who is your coach, or are your coaches, and why you are seeking out the coaching help, and how leaders should like where or what kind of coach they should seek out.
Look, I think, I have two coaches and a couple different mentor coaches that like I follow their podcasts and I follow, what they say, who they are. It's irrelevant because you have to find the right coach for you. But people, I think, it's so funny. I just wrote about this on LinkedIn this morning. We have a tendency, especially now, and because of the work that I do as a coach is with very high achieving women. I know your audience is both men and women. But I think high achieving people, so the people that you work with, we have a tendency to think that because we're so successful and we've figured so many things out, that we can figure anything in our life out. Right. That's number one. So high achieving people have a tendency not to think that they need a coach or think that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Then there's an even more interesting dynamic is that high achieving women, and this might apply to some men as well, we're so used to putting ourselves last on our list. We will take care of everything and everyone else, work, home, school, kids, husband, but all of the things. And we are at the bottom of our list. And that's a problem because we deprioritize ourselves and our own growth and coaching and spending money on coaching. It's investing in ourselves, right? I see this is true for so many women. It's like, oh my gosh, no way. I need to do all of these different things. I couldn't possibly spend that money on myself because we've been taught over time as women that we come last. And so it's so funny you asked me that question because I just posted about this today. I don't know why this is true, but spending money, investing in our personal growth, there's some stigma around that. And it's really attached to how much we believe in our own ability to change. So I think there's what I've seen over time and working with so many people and talking on podcasts just like this is that we know we want to change in general as humans, but we think we have all this evidence that we haven't been able to do it up until this time. And so what makes us think that just because we hire a coach, we'll be able to do it? And right, I'm sure you get that objection. I'm sure that comes up in conversations all the time. And like the objections might be, oh, it's too expensive, or, oh, I don't have the time, or all of the objections that you might get as a coach, when it really is that, oh, I don't believe in myself that I'm going to be able to make this change. And I couldn't possibly spend this kind of money when I don't believe I'm going to be able to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. A lot of time our objection or our denial on the surface is something else. It's thinking, well, this is not the right timing. This is not the thing I really want, or this is not something is possible. We think it's all the external reasons that are not going to happen. Actually, down deep inside our heart is we didn't believe in ourselves in that. And my personal experience with coaching, I found is coaching is that hour I allocated with my coach is I am the most important person in the world.
Yes.
And that person is putting the whole faith, whole support for me to support me to become the best of me. So coaching is truly invest in yourself. That a lot of time when we look ahead and, oh, that's this amount of money and amount of time, and that's a big cost. But actually, when we look back in our life, look at every step we gained, every progress we made, how do you put a number on that? What's the value out of that? And that's nothing compared to like what you put into that is nothing compared to what you get out of that.
Completely. Yes. Very well said.
Yeah. And so I know this past 2 years, a lot of things changed. And I wonder what some new aspirations, big ambitions you having ahead.
Yes. I love that you asked me this. So in the beginning, I talked about going to Sleep No More 49 times, right? And this being a passion in my life. And yes, I've been to lots of other immersive theater shows all over the country, but this one is super special to me. What I'm really excited about is right now I'm creating an immersive adventure mastermind that will take a group of women to Sleep No More. And then after the experience, we'll go to New York City. It'll be an incredible trip. We will use that as the catalyst. We'll build a container for all of the things that they want to create, and we'll coach together for 6 months after that. So I'm building that right now. So I love that you asked me that.
Wow, that's exciting.
So I'm going to likely soft launch this in December, and the trip will be probably late February, early March. So all of that is in the works right now, and I'm working on the landing page and all of that. So that's super exciting, and it's something that brings me so much joy, and I am so excited to give other women this experience of transformation, and then use that as the catalyst for the things that they want to create an experience in the world.
Wow. I look forward to see more or hear more. About it. And is that only open to people who are near New York City, or open to any?
No, I'm not even near New York City. I'm in Dallas, Texas. So we'll fly there no matter where you are. We'll fly there, meet there, and have an incredible experience. Great.
So how do people find out more about it?
So it's not done yet, but I am very active on LinkedIn. That's my social platform of choice. All of the things I do there, I will announce it there. I'll link the landing page there as soon as I launch. So if anyone listening wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, send me an invite. I will happily connect with you, and you can find everything you want to know there.
Yeah, I'm the testimony for that, because I reached out to Tracy on the LinkedIn and instantly I got a reply. So just reach out to Tracy if you're interested. And I'm very excited to hear that, and look forward to follow you on that.
Thank you.
And thank you, Tracy, so much for the time spent with us. So would you share just a parting words with our audience?
This is the motto that I live by, that I actually learned inside Sleep No More. And it goes like this. Everything is not as it seems, and fortune favors the bold.
I love that. Fortune favors the bold. Yeah, every time when I was thinking about taking a risk, I know risk sounds really, really scary. I don't know what return, what the outcome is going to be, but I know when I take that step, I will get something. I learn something or make a progress. Either way, I'll be moving forward. So
that's right.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you for the time and the insight to share with our audience. We look forward to see you again in the future.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you, everyone, and see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Journey with Lay. What's your most valuable takeaway from today's episode? What is one step that you are inspired to take? Start tapping into your power of excitement and become the leader you are always meant to be. If you dare to dream it, you can achieve it. Go to journeywithlay.com or email hello@journeywithlay.com. We'll see you again next week.